Okay, so here I am. New computer, new format. Saying goodbye to the old computer and the way things used to be done. And just in time for the Season 6 premiere. Alright, this is My Little Pony Season 6, Episode 1, the Crystalline, the real thoughts, where I speak as myself instead of speaking as my pony Sona. And what we had with this particular episode was a return to the slice of life format. An adventure that catches us up on what Starlight Glimmer is doing, shows us what her friend Sunburst has been doing in his days, gives us the birth of the new baby and gives her a name. Although we were spoiled on that thanks to the leaked and much hyped animatic and pictures and posts and all the other internet craziness. But the rest of this was all purely slice of life. No monsters, no evil enemies trying to take over the world, no bad guys or villains trying to kidnap the child or anything like that going on. Just a little force of nature happening because some pony had a little accident that wasn't in their control. And a little artifact got broken and whatever. So it puts this two-part premiere sort of in the same field as the one-part episode finale, The Best Night Ever. Just like with the Grand Galloping Gala, this is an episode where there aren't any enemies to fight, there's no final boss. It's just a series of events where things go wrong because of the actions of various ponies. At the end of the day, things are okay and stuff gets back to normal. I wouldn't put this as exciting as, say, Twilight's Kingdom or Princess Twilight or the Canterlot Wedding or even Magical Mystery Cure. But it does have a little area that was intriguing. The mystery to why Sunburst didn't want to open up about his past and the clearness that he really wasn't a wizard allowed the audience to know that he was hiding a secret. And waiting for that secret to be revealed and seeing his interactions with Starlight and seeing Starlight doing everything she can to stall having to reunite with her friends and seeing her afraid to admit that she was evil in the past because no one would want to admit that to their close friend was a lot more interesting to me than the story of basically a retelling of Baby Tates. Yeah, basically this was the Baby Tates episode combined with another lackluster Crystal Empire two-parter, the Crystal Empire. What is about episodes set in the Crystal Empire that I never quite enjoy them nearly as much as episodes set elsewhere in Equestria. But anyhow, I enjoyed the Starlight Glimmer and Sunburst parts of the story a lot more than I enjoyed the hijinks of a baby with out-of-control magic doing things that were predictable for that situation. It was interesting to me that this whole problem was caused because a mother couldn't read her baby's emotions and decide to allow her to continue clinging to Pinkie Pie, a pony that she was clearly comfortable cuddling. You know from seeing the baby about to cry that because she was taken away from Pinkie Pie that was going to make her cry. There are so many times I see parents take a toy away from a child and the child cries, and you're like, if you would just give the toy back to the child would be happy and content and wouldn't cry from having the toy taken away. In this particular situation, however, that crying had the effect of shattering the crystal heart. Now, when you saw the scene setting up, this could still be a surprise for some people, but for some reason, as soon as I saw the shot of the heart, followed by all that sonic wave crying, I sort of knew even before it cracked that it was going to crack. I didn't expect it to fully shatter, but I figured, yeah, that crying is going to upset the heart somehow or another, especially since it's all in tune to emotions and so forth. The other thought that ran through my head a lot during this episode was all of the wizardy quotes that can come into the Sunburst and Starlight meeting. There are tons of lines from things like Wizard of Oz and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and maybe even something like Miracle on 34th Street perhaps, that could very adequately fit this meeting with a wizard who turns out to be not a wizard at all. When you think of it, this really was more of a Wizard of Oz story. After all, the wizard isn't a wizard after all. And at the end of the story, he gives 3 characters 3 different presents, and one of them being a heart. Yeah, so even though he looks like a cross between Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Merlin the Great, he's really more of a Wizard of Oz. I thought it was very Wizard of Oz. Not quite as Wizard of Oz as Flutterguy voicing over Big Mac while hiding behind a curtain, but still very Wizard of Oz with a little touch of Harry Potter, and perhaps some Merlin or Gandalf thrown in for good measure. Learning what the secret was that Sunburst was hiding was definitely the more compelling reason to keep watching this episode and to watch it again and again after the episode's already been viewed, when I watch everyone else's reaction. Spice Roll in this was great too. He was well written, and he had a lot of important moments to deal with, and he dealt with them responsibly. And then we have the other main 6. The other characters other than Twilight didn't really have a lot to do, but they contributed in their own little way. It made sense that all 6 ponies would be in attendance at the crystalline, so there was a perfect reason for them all to go, even if they didn't contribute much other than the sequence where they were sort of trying to one-up each other's gifts, and luckily that didn't go too far. And a few moments of extra dialogue, like Rarity helping choose the crystal, Rainbow Dash helping bust the clouds, Fluttershy helping with the evacuation. But the main attraction to the episode was Twilight Sparkle, Shining Armor, and Princess Cadance. Especially Shining Armor and getting to see what he's like when he's all razzled, frazzled, and sleepy-eyed. Sleep-deprived from the stress of being a father to a young Alicorn and not necessarily knowing how to deal with that. Also, probably, thankfully, we didn't get any appearances from Flash Sentry in the background, who we know should have been on the honor guard, but was left out. Probably would have been a few cameos too many for the fandom to handle from such a full episode. It'll definitely be interesting to see where things go from here. We set up Sunburst as this important kept close to the royal family, advisor in charge of raising and training the baby. We've given Twilight's parents a voice, finally. We've shown that Shining Armor is going to be struggling with learning to be a father. We've shown how timed cadence is. We've shown Celestia and Luna doing a little more than just sitting around doing nothing, and for once not being directly defeated right away. The real winners of the episode were Spite, Starlight Glimmer, Sunburst, and Shining Armor. Yeah, Twilight did learn some stuff too about being a teacher and whatnot. She went a little overboard on her checklists. Hopefully, as episodes will go on, we'll see Twilight being less involved in the friendship lessons, because learning friendship from a checklist isn't any way to be friends at all. I don't think Griffins or any other characters would appreciate being the subject for you to learn a lesson from, and would rather, just let life let its lessons teach you itself. Life gives you lessons and you'll learn them on your own. You don't have to find them. You don't have to use a checklist to make them. You just learn them as life goes on. Just, sit back and do nothing and give very subtle guidance to your students. It would be interesting as the season goes on to see those struggles and see Starlight having series of successes and series of setbacks, and to really have to struggle with the whole reform thing. Maybe even have an episode where something really evil attacks Equestria and Starlight reverts to her evil ways to defeat the enemy. And then the main six are all like, Starlight, you promised you weren't gonna be evil anymore. And Starlight would be like, I had to. I had no other way to save my friends. I didn't have another choice. And Twilight would be like, there's always another choice. You should have went in a different direction. Maybe the changelings return, and the changelings take over different characters very subtly in the background, and what the fans would call an animation error or a pony being written out of character could actually be the changelings sabotaging efforts and creating a situation where Starlight's friendship lessons start backfiring and she starts losing friends and is soon left alone again. There's lots of possibilities, but it's really too early in the season to tell what could possibly happen. It's just fun to play around with ideas like Sunburst getting replaced by a changeling and having a changeling posing as Sunburst to get close to the royal family. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see where the season goes, and hopefully the next few episodes will be something to rave about and not something to complain over. After all, we've got new writers coming in and old writers leaving, so I guess I can't say thanks M.A. Larson anymore whenever these new Alatorns pop up. Anyhow, that's all the thoughts I really have time for right now. If anything else pops into my mind, I'll make another recording. Thank you for watching, and good night.